striptease, cupcake kisses, more breakfast cereals, and Chock takes a super quick funeral leave. You are watching Reader Seeks Romance Channel's Romance Recap, and we're discussing and dissecting The Golden Bachelorette, starring widow Joan Vassos. I am Liz Donatelli.
And I'm Tiffany Current.
Be sure to subscribe to Reader Seeks Romance Channel so that you don't miss weekly episodes of Romance Recap only on YouTube. Week 4.
Is it?
Yes, it is week 4. And we begin the episode with 11 men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What's your takeaway from this episode?
I had so many mixed emotions. I was like, Magic Mike again. Chock, leave, return. What does he want? There's a lot of things for me in this episode that worked, didn't work, I didn't like, kind of liked. I was all over the place. How about you?
My takeaway is that Chock is chomping at the bit. He is intensely connecting with Joan to the point that his energy feels to me like Devin from the Bachelorette season of Jen Tran.
What do you mean by that? Like stalker energy? What type of energy do you mean?
Meaning that he is saying all the right things.
Oh, no.
Is constantly attentive.
No.
Keeps reasserting, I'm falling for you. I'm crazy about you. You're beautiful. I need time with you. I need time with you. Devin pursued Jen Tran hard, and that did not end well. And I feel like Chock is pursuing her so hard, it's coming off now as a little desperate. And desperation is a stinky cologne.
Ew!
Well, thank you for that perfume overview. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think that's the case. He did come off as a little possessive to me at some point when I was like, I don't know. But I don't find him to be desperate or off-putting like other bachelors. But let's jump into it.
Okay.
We open on the men in the mansion. Now that Greg is gone, Pascal is forced to do his own laundry. We saw someone showing him like, this is how detergent lines work. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
So we're just seeing the men around the house. Pascal is learning things, and then we get a visit. We find out it's a group date.
It's a group date, and I just want to say that we do not see Jesse Palmer until the last 5 minutes of this episode.
I was okay with it.
He does it, and you know what? It flowed better. It actually flowed better. So there's no Jesse, but Pascal announces that there is a group date. So everyone except Jordan and Guy are part of this group date, which means that Jordan and Guy get one-on-ones with Joan later in the episode. Were you surprised about Jordan? I wasn't surprised about Guy. Were you surprised about Jordan?
I was surprised. I mean, I knew about the other one because of the previews, but Jordan, he feels like a friend vibe. My opinion did change from watching the episode, but that's kind of what came off to me originally. So I was surprised as to who was picked. I kept waiting for Keith to get the date, and he hasn't yet.
I'm surprised that Keith didn't get the date either. And he seemed pretty disappointed. So the group date is a striptease that is sponsored by or raising money for Stand Up for Cancer. I'm actually not quite sure how that works.
Yeah,
Stand Up for Cancer gives money because they strip? I don't know.
I guess because Stand Up to Cancer's line is their motto is bear it all. But I was like, right when I heard the tie-in and Joan's like, well, this is Stand Up to Cancer, something I really care about, which I get. I was like, there is no freaking tie-in. We don't need to see Magic Mike. I thought it was like at this age, which isn't to say they can't be sexy. I feel like this has been overdone too many times on The Bachelorette. And for their age, we don't need to see it. We don't need to see it because they all seem really nervous and uncomfortable. But then she's like, but this is for Stand Up to Cancer. Like, well, now we have to do it. I didn't like it.
When you said you don't want to see it, what is it that you don't want to see?
As I said, we have some attractive men on the show. I don't mind looking at them. Obviously, I can appreciate the male physique. But I thought for their age, it felt, I don't know, it just wasn't cool, man. Like, even if at this point, I'm done with seeing it. I get it. We're trying to have fun. But I don't know, for this, it just feels like low class. This is something you do for people in their 20s as a joke.
Yeah, that's a good
low
point.
Class.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's a very unsophisticated type of group date.
Thank you. Yes.
Wow, just give me some more Joan.
I wrote that down. I was like, man, listen to him say, you go first. I thought that was of note.
I feel like he puts her on the spot a lot.
He did. He does.
And when he did that, I rolled my eyes. I says, "Oh, this guy again." And I appreciate that he
It's funny.
feels the pressure because
Yeah.
there's other men involved. But his intensity, it's like quite it's curious. It's curious. Like what is driving this level of intensity? Is it just because he wants
I
to
don't
win?
know.
Like, I mean, not to say it's not possible he's falling for her, but he just seems like he's also reading off of a script. Doesn't he? I think, I don't know.
I don't know because you say the same thing about Joan. So maybe they're actually meant for each other because it sounds like she's reading off a script, he's reading off a script. Maybe
Yeah.
it's the same script. I don't know.
I thought she had a lovely chat with Mark. They were talking about, feeling because his wife died of cancer. So they were talking
Mm,
about their connection to grieving over spouses who died from an illness, cancer,
yeah.
and about guilt, about, moving on, and about how Mark's wife had encouraged him, find someone after I pass
Yeah.
on. And, just about Joan and Mark's reluctance to go put themselves out there. So I thought that was a moment of connection.
It was a struggle for me. She spoke all the time about, you need to go out on dates, you need to get married, you need to find someone.
What did you say?
I was like, oh, no, no, no.
No, I'm not doing that. I said the same thing.
That's
I'm
not
like,
for me.
I'm not listening.
I said, that's not for me. I don't even want to. And she was like, no, Mark, you need to find someone. You need to marry someone and treat them right.
Although I don't think either one of us want to dwell on like the sad things that happened to our past, it's kind of our connection, and I don't feel as guilty as I did.
But I still feel like overall, she and Mark are not having enough time to further that connection.
And they don't have enough energy together. Like I remember, and I
Mm,
specifically wrote low energy there. It felt low
yeah.
energy to me. Like it's like, all right, the producers want us to talk. Let's talk to set you up for next year. At the end of the day, she ends up giving the rose to Chock. But I did write, that's when I wrote he did seem possessive. When she gave him the rose, something stop it. Took it and kissed her, made seem very possessive.
Oh, he is. I mean, he keeps saying, well, she said she could see a future with him. Every chance he gets to talk to the camera, it's like, give me Joan, give me more Joan, Joan. It's a little frightening.
Chock, will you accept this rose?
Absolutely.
So at this point, because I watch on Hulu, at this point there is a commercial break, and there's a commercial for Quaker Oats oatmeal. And at the end of one of these Quaker Oats commercials, Joan appears and she
Yeah.
says that she does love a silver fox, referring
Oh.
to the white-haired Quaker Oats Quaker man.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was like,
Yes.
boy, they are in deep with this Quaker Oats.
They're doing it. They're getting their money's worth. It's crazy.
And then later on, there's Cheerios. So the whole breakfast cereal theme continues.
I think good for them for cornering that market. It makes sense. We go from there and apparently Chock gets bad news that his mom passed away. He seemed
Yes.
very shaken about it. And that one still would appreciate, but when he shared it with the men, the way that they all kind of supported him and started sharing their stories and just, trying to like show a supportive hand, I really appreciated the guys there trying to comfort him. I like that moment.
I thought it was a really beautiful moment. I think
Yeah.
the bromance between the guys in this house is just, it's even better to watch than the actual developing love story. Yeah,
I
right
agree.
away, Gary looked like he had taken it to the heart. He put his hands on Chalk. Yeah, like they all, and I think Jonathan started to cry. Jonathan looked like
He
he was
started
getting teary.
crying
Yeah.
because he started thinking about his own mom that passed away. I was like,
His
these
own mom.
men.
Yeah, I have to say, I got choked up too watching, the emotional support for Chalk.
I got news this morning. She passed this morning, 4 o'clock.
I'm so silly.
And
I'm so silly.
yeah, it's been tough. I feel
And I kept thinking, like, can he just come back? And I think that's what was kind of insinuated there. So I was like, yes, this is obviously an awful moment for him, but I'm like, just have him leave for whatever it takes, for, I don't know, a week or whatever, and then come back.
Well, yeah. I mean, I figured he might come back in a few episodes because, his mother died. He said he had all, obviously
Stuff to
stuff to
do.
do. I mean, I'll save my comments for later, but yeah, so he leaves and Joan doesn't know if he's going to make it back. So she's upset. He's upset because they made a connection. Again, history repeats itself because Gary and Joan connected hard. And then Joan's like, my daughter needs me. She just had a baby, et cetera, et cetera. And she walked out and she never returned.
Yeah.
So, now, and I was wondering in that moment, like, if he doesn't come back, will Joan wait for him? I was wondering, but we do get an answer about that at the end of the
We do
episode.
get an answer. Spoiler alert, he does come back too soon. But either way,
Yeah.
somehow she manages to go onto a date with Jordan and they go to some, I don't know, studio where there's an ice skating rink set up and like boxes set up to look like tables.
REO Speedwagon performs their classic hit, Can't Fight This Feeling.
It was ridiculous. I wrote in caps, not joking, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Did they just get like some influx of money and they're like, let's just spend it on these older acts to come in and sing? I'm like, why do we have to have these people show up at like this makeshift ice skating rink and sing? It was so bizarre. What a weird moment. You can't have it twice in a season. You can't have it twice in a season.
It's
that was
overkill.
2 episodes ago.
Well, this is now the third musical
Wait, the third?
act. Taylor Dane, Wayne Newton on REO Speedwagon. So who's next?
Crazy.
Who's next?
I don't know.
He was in heaven because apparently REO Speedwagon.
Like, that's my favorite group.
band.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
So then I was like, oh yeah, they're giving you your favorite group because you're going to be leaving. That's what I thought. They seemed to have chemistry while they were dancing.
did.
So they seemed to have
They
had a good
kissed.
date.
They kissed with tongue. I saw his tongue slip
Oh,
into her
did
mouth.
you?
Yes,
Oh.
it slipped in there like a little snake.
Oh
And
my
she took it. She didn't pull back. So I was like, okay.
She took
She
his
took it.
snake.
She did take a steak. But it was a good date. She gave him a rose. He gets to live on for another day.
Yeah. Both of the one-on-ones, because now we're going to talk about the other one-on-one. I feel like there was like a total lack of imagination. It would have been funny if they would have had a musical
No.
act pop out during her date with Guy while
That
they're
would have
cooking.
been ridiculous. What I thought was strange was that they did do cooking at her house. To me, it was like they spent all the budget on getting a musical act to come. They're like, we don't have a location for this cooking. Let's just do it at her house. The rented mansion where she's staying. That was just a strange date for me.
It was this whole episode.
Weird.
It was a lackluster episode, to be honest. Like nothing really was that impressive.
Nothing happened.
Did you know that house where the Bachelorette lives is the Sun House in Malibu? I didn't know it had a name. It's called the Sun House, it said.
That was the first time I saw the name. It doesn't mean that it's real. They just gave it to them.
Yeah.
But anyway, they start cooking, and apparently Joan learns that Guy is not a good cook. He was really struggling with zesting the lemon and etc. I don't know. I don't feel it between them. I don't get it. I was surprised she gave him a rose. I don't get it, dude. I don't get it.
Well,
and I don't even know if he's that into her either, to be honest.
He did say that he was smitten.
I'm smitten with jackets. It's not like, it doesn't count. Like, come on.
Yeah, he said he was smitten. He seems a little bit stuffy, at least more stuffy for Joan than I think she's looking for. He did talk about the fact that he was married 34 years before he and his wife divorced. When they became empty nesters, communication was lacking. They broke up. They had gone to counseling first. They broke up, and then he withdrew from life. But that Joan makes him feel good, and they kiss, and she's hopeful.
I didn't know I could actually feel this good again. And I just want to let you know that a lot of it has to do with you. So I just want to thank you for that.
Of course.
He lives in Vegas and he's an ER doctor. He's not going to move to the East Coast. Give me a break. This is a waste of my time. It's a waste of her time. It's a waste of his time. He is a doctor. He is not moving to another state unless he's going to get paid a ton of money. And he's not going to leave Vegas to go to, where is she? Maryland? I don't know where she is.
He might be able to get a really good ER job in like Washington, D.C. Maybe, I don't see it. He says he's exactly what she's looking for. But I guess I don't see it.
I don't see it.
I feel like they made some progress. They were being playful in the kitchen with the frosting of the cupcakes. And she's like, oh, do you want to take care of it? Because there was frosting. And
It's a
then
producer moment.
he kissed the frosting off her lips. And I hate, we've said it, but I don't like with the food
Gross.
and the kissing. The food and the
Gross.
kissing. No.
No, doesn't work out. I don't
Right. It was
appreciate
totally producer because those exact words came out of Gary's mouth last year with someone. He's like, oh, you want to kiss with Teresa? Oh, you want to
Yeah.
kiss it off? Because there was frosting on his face.
Yeah, it was, I don't want to see it. We go from there to the final bit of the evening, and
Yeah.
she gets to have some different dates. What I thought was interesting was the date with Pascal.
Yeah, I thought
Because
she
she
was giving him a little shit, wasn't she?
she did.
Yeah.
She did, and I appreciated it. She's just like, I can't tell if you're uninterested or if you're just being French.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
just, and she's just like, I'm just being French. I'm giving you your space. It was very interesting to see that moment, but he reiterated that yes, he does care for her. He just does better in one-on-one, and he didn't want to take, I don't know, too much time away from the other guys or something.
Yeah.
I like, Pascal surprises me. He's interesting.
Yeah. And you know what really, I liked Pascal even more when I saw him making an effort to do his own laundry. I was like, okay, so that means that he's flexible. He's willing to do things he's uncomfortable with. So when he sat down with Joan, I don't know, I thought she was a little bit, I think she didn't
Too
have
much.
to. Yeah, I didn't think she needed to be so like, oh, well, I'd like to see you put in more effort. Cause he's like, hey, like, I need more time with you. I'm not
Yeah.
as good in group situations. And she's like, oh, he's got this air of indifference placement. And they kiss while
Yeah.
eating the Cheerios. And I'm like, no more kissing with food in your mouths, please.
It's too much kissing with food. We also saw Keith, who desperately wanted to have a date with her, have a terrible date. He was
Oh,
like, it's all
wow.
surface. We couldn't really talk. He did seem nervous. And I felt really bad for Keith.
He was nervous. He said he was sweating and you could see the sweat.
You could see it.
He created like a mini beach for Joan in like the driveway.
Because she likes the beach. She likes the beach.
Right. But like he seemed so uncomfortable. Like you could
I
tell he was
know.
in his head about everything.
Yeah.
And it was a very stilted conversation. I actually wasn't sure if she was gonna boot him off after that because I was like, that would
I
not
agree,
go
because
well.
I thought maybe she didn't feel the energy with him anymore. It was interesting to see how off they were.
The first impression rose meant a lot to me, and thank you again.
Of course.
But so it's kind of a reminder of where we started, and time is.
No offense to the dead, but it felt very fast. I'm like, he could have waited an episode or two. We aren't going anywhere. She's not going anywhere.
I was appalled because I said he must have waved goodbye to his mother, hopped back on a plane because he had to get back to Joan. I was actually disturbed by that. And I think Joan should be too. Joan should be disturbed that he did not give the grieving process a little bit more time. He said he was going home also to like help his family. It's like, dude, really? Like he barely said goodbye to his mother before he jumped on a plane.
It did feel fast. That could have been producer pushed. We don't know what the situation is. This is what I'll say. He said his mother has had cancer for years and that she's been at the end of her life for years.
Yeah.
So he's had a long time to prepare. And so maybe if it's in that situation where it's been dragging on for a very long time, that it's you handle it differently. It's still painful, but maybe you handle it differently. Either way, some people, when they die, they think, you know what, life is short. There's only so much time I have in my life. Here's a woman that I really care about. My mom would want me to go after her because I have this new shot at love. And if I let it go, I may never get it again. And maybe when people die, when things, when that happens, you start to reassess your life and what's important, what to do and what to take action on.
Yeah.
And maybe he just took action on Joan.
I kind of questioned him even leaving for the show when he knew his mother could die at any moment. But again, you have a point. That to me, if I saw someone I was interested in come back lickety split from their beloved mother's funeral, I mean, it had to be within a week. It was probably days.
Yeah, it was fast.
I'd be like, that's interesting.
Either way, it happened. She was very happy to see him. He was very happy to see her.
Yeah, and he kissed her aggressively. Did you see that? Like possessively aggressively.
Yes, I think I noted that.
Like I have a future.
And then from there, we get to Jesse for the rose ceremony.
Jesse put in 15 seconds of work.
Look, I
I
gotta
need
say
to
this
get his
much.
job. I need that job.
When I saw him, I said, this is just right. I'm still upset with Jesse from last season. This is all I need to see of him. I don't even want to see this much of him, but I accepted it. It was enough.
Oh, that's harsh.
We got the rose ceremony, and I was not surprised for who went home. Were you?
No, I wasn't. I actually play a little game with myself where I start typing in the names that I think aren't going to get roses and see if it matches. To be honest, I thought she was only getting rid of 3. I didn't think 4.
Hmm.
I didn't realize it was going to be 4. So I had put down Gil, Gary, and Charles L. And then I was like, oh, I think let me throw in another person just in case she picks 4, which she did. And I had picked Dan. And yeah.
It's who
Yes.
exactly who you thought it would be. The people that are in the friend zone should go at this point. Let's get to the meat of it.
Yeah.
Let's get to the meat.
So the guys who already have roses from earlier in the episode, Jordan, Guy, and Chock, roses were given to Pascal, Jonathan, Mark, and Keith, which also means again they're going to get rid of Mark right before hometowns. They're positioning him for that.
Yes.
And we say goodbye to Gil, Gary, Charles L, and Dan. And man, I got so emotional for Dan. It wasn't even just about the Joan thing. It was
I
about,
know his statement.
he said that he lives alone and
I
that
know
living with the
it
guys. Oh my God. I felt
hurt my heart.
Yeah,
It hurt my
did.
heart.
It did.
It
Yeah.
hurt my heart. I felt for him.
And that's the emotional part right now. It's just not Joan. It's everybody and everything here.
Love you, man.
Love you,
Love
man.
you.
Yeah, you know, I live alone, and the one with the group of brothers, it's pretty cool.
And I'm hoping when he goes home, he's got like a lot of people around him. Maybe he'll spend some nights in his apartment with him so he feels not so alone. And
He needs
maybe
a
he'll
cat
get
or a
Yeah.
dog. He needs an
Yeah.
animal.
when
Yeah,
he looked so like the saddest man ever.
I
Like,
know. It
yeah.
was tough. I was like, somebody give him an animal, please. He needs one. He needs it. He needs a living buddy.
Yeah.
So that's how it ended, kind of on a sad note. Then we cut to next week. I was like, are they going to 3 different countries? We saw a lot of different shots of a lot of
Yeah.
different vacations. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know either. There was
Nuts.
a hodgepodge of clips.
Yes.
Did you notice though who gets a hot tub date?
It was Keith. It was very surprising. I was like, okay.
I
Okay,
was
that's
like,
interesting.
that was my takeaway from the teaser was like, Keith gets the hot tub date. The other thing is it looks as if Pascal gets a little fiery. I don't know. It seems like he says to Chock, like, you keep taking like more time with Joan. And then at some point he's like pushing away cameras from Joan saying, get away from her.
Go. She's not okay. She's not okay right now.
I think that's different. I think that scene is a different scene where he's being protective because she's having a breakdown of some sort. So he's protecting her and they're trying to follow her. And he's like, get away, get it. And he's being like, as he should do. He's
Get away. Yes. I know he was being fiery French in that moment. And I was like, you know what?
You're there for it. You're
I'm
like,
kinda
you know what?
digging it.
Hey man, he might be indifferent during the day, but he is pretty fiery at night.
I have to say, it looks as if some things happen, which will be nice because this was a bit of you said low energy before to describe one of the dates. I feel like the whole episode is kind of low energy. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to next week.
I am too. I am thoroughly enjoying this season.
I'm enjoying it, but this episode was slow and I was like, all right, guys, let's get to the meat. So I'm looking forward to finally getting to like, the real suitors in the upcoming episodes.
Right. So as we enter week 5, there are now 7 men left. And we know that 4 go to hometown, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So who do you think, based on what we have, the 7 we have now, who do you think are the 4 who go to hometowns?
Probably the same as before. Chock, Jonathan, Keith, and the guy that I thought was a friend by, but now isn't. What's his name? Jordan, maybe.
Oh, see, I think it's going to be
your 4th. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's going to be Guy. I think it's going to be Guy, Chock, Jonathan, and Keith.
Okay.
That's
Close enough.
Yeah.
Both of the men there can easily be swapped out because she's not going to end up with either one of those two.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Well, that's all we got for you. Tune into Romance Recap next week when we discuss the Golden Bachelorette Week 5. Stay golden, friends.